Prologue. Welcome to the Wild West. You open your eyes to a sun that scorches the dusty plains, the horizon a shimmering blur of heat. A wind, sharp and dry, cuts across your skin, carrying the scent of horses, sweat, and something metallic. Gunpowder. You don't know where you are. One moment, you were in your comfortable modern world. The next, you're standing in the middle of a frontier town in the year 1878. The wooden sidewalks creak beneath your feet. The clap of boots on planks echoes against the facades of weather-beaten buildings. A sign swings above a saloon, the rusty spur, its letters faded and chipped. You see men with wide-brimmed hats, long coats, and revolvers tucked into holsters, their eyes narrow and calculating. Children dart between the horses tethered outside, laughing and screaming. But laughter here is fleeting. Danger hides behind every corner, in every shadow. You quickly realize you wouldn't survive a day here. Not a day, because the Wild West isn't the romanticized place from novels or movies. It's a land of harsh realities. Water is scarce, food is uncertain, law is optional, and violence is common. And you, modern, soft, unprepared, are out of your element. The sun climbs higher, casting stark shadows across the town. And with it, the first day of your impossible survival begins. Morning in a frontier town. The town is waking up. You hear the creak of a windmill turning lazily, the clip-clop of hooves on dirt streets, and the faint tinkling of a piano from the saloon as someone warms up for the day. But there's no smell of coffee brewing like in your kitchen. Instead, the aroma is of sweat, dust, and horse manure. You wrinkle your nose. Survival already feels like a battle. A man steps out of a nearby blacksmith shop, a hammer in one hand, a horse's hoof in the other. Sparks fly as metal meets metal. He gives you a look, curious but wary. You smile nervously, and he shrugs, muttering something about city folk. You notice a few key dangers immediately. 1. Unfamiliar surroundings. The buildings are simple wood, prone to collapse in storms. No electricity, no running water. You could easily get lost, or worse, walk into danger without realizing it. 2. Hostile locals. Some men stare with suspicion, hands brushing the grips of their pistols. One young outlaw, barely older than you, leans against a post, twirling a revolver casually. He's looking for trouble, or maybe just entertainment. Either way, you're not part of the town yet. 3. No modern conveniences. You fumble with your pocket, realizing your phone, your watch, your credit card, all useless here. Food and water? Not guaranteed. A day in this town would test you more than any hike or camping trip you've ever taken. You hear shouting from the main street. A cart has overturned, scattering barrels of apples and sacks of flour. People scream, horses rear, and the cart driver curses in a heavy drawl. You step back instinctively, your modern instincts warning you to stay clear, but there's no one here to save you. You are on your own. From the saloon, you hear the faint but unmistakable sound of a gun being cocked. Your stomach tightens. You've read about this in history books, sure, but now it's real. You have no idea how to draw a weapon, let alone survive a sudden duel. A man bursts from the swinging doors, his coat flapping, gun in hand. He shouts something, threat? Insult? You can't tell. And before you can react, a shot rings out, echoing down the empty street. Dust rises where the bullet hits. You freeze. This is just the morning. You haven't even eaten. You haven't navigated the wilderness outside the town. And already, survival seems impossible. You realize with chilling clarity, the Wild West does not wait. It does not forgive. And it certainly does not care whether you live or die. The day has only just begun. The lawless streets. You step off the dusty wooden sidewalk, trying to convince yourself to explore the town. But every sound makes your heart race. Hooves clatter. Shouts echo. A dog barks, and the wind carries the scent of gunpowder. Every instinct screams at you to leave. But leave where? Outside the town, the wilderness itself is a danger. As you edge down the main street, you see them. Outlaws, the type you've only seen in black and white photographs or old movies. A trio of men, hats pulled low, long coats flapping in the wind, lean against a building, fingers resting on the triggers of their revolvers. They speak in low tones, but their eyes track everyone passing by, including you. A tumbleweed skitters across the street. You flinch. One of the outlaws laughs, a dry, gravelly sound. and you realize you are the only one flinching. "City slicker, ain't ya?" The tallest one calls, his voice rough like sandpaper. You try to nod, hoping he interprets it as confidence. It doesn't work. This is your first lesson. Here, appearances matter more than skill. You don't know the customs. You don't know the code of honor, the subtle dance of respect and fear. One wrong move, one glance, one hesitation, and you might find yourself on the wrong end of a six-shooter. Suddenly, a shot rings out. Instinctively, you dive behind a barrel. Dust sprays up around you. One of the outlaws has pulled his gun, but not at you, at another man standing too close to the saloon doors. He falls, clutching his chest, screaming. People scatter. Horses neigh and rear. The town erupts into chaos. Your brain is screaming, "Get out. Run. Hide." But your legs feel like lead. You are paralyzed by fear. The first true taste of danger in a place where nobody will intervene on your behalf. A local merchant, a wiry man with a crooked smile, yells, "Move along, stranger. Ain't none of this for the faint-hearted." You nod, but the words barely register. You've already seen what the Wild West does to people who hesitate. You realize quickly, a single day here could kill you, and you haven't even made it past the main street. Determined to survive, or at least not die instantly, you keep moving, careful not to attract attention. You duck into a small alley beside the general store. The smell hits you first, rotting food, horse manure, and sweat. You gag, but press on. In the corner of your eye, you catch movement. Another outlaw, watching, waiting. He's bored, but dangerous. You pass a wanted poster tacked to the wall. The illustration shows a man with a wide-brimmed hat, a scar over one eye, and a revolver in hand. The reward, 500. For that time, that is enough money to live comfortably for months. But you don't care about the reward. You care about not becoming the poster. Your stomach growls. You realize you haven't eaten. Hunger gnaws at you. But even that simple need becomes a threat. Food is scarce, and people guard it fiercely. The general store offers provisions, but to buy anything, you need coins you don't have, or charm and courage you haven't developed. You fumble through your pockets. Modern currency might get you laughed at, or worse. Another shot splits the air. Someone screams. You duck instinctively, pressing against the wall. Your heart pounds. Sweat trickles down your back. You feel like prey, and in this town, everyone is both predator and prey. By noon, you've learned 3 vital truths about the Wild West. 1. Trust no one. Friends can disappear or betray you for the price of a few dollars. 2. Always watch your back. Danger can come from a stranger or someone you've just smiled at. 3. Modern instincts are useless. Running to the police? There isn't one. Calling for help? No one will hear. Surviving requires skill, cunning, and experience you don't have. You decide to leave the main street, moving toward the outskirts. Maybe the wilderness is safer, maybe. But as you leave the town's center, you hear it again. The unmistakable click of a gun being cocked, and a voice. You're far from home, stranger. And suddenly, you understand. This day, your first day in the Wild West, could very well be your last. Hunting for food, the outskirts of town are quiet, almost eerily so. Dust swirls across the cracked earth, and the heat presses down like a weight. You glance back once, seeing the wooden buildings and the chaos of the main street fading into the distance. For a brief moment, you imagine that safety lies just beyond the town, but the wilderness is not kind to the unprepared. Your stomach growls. Hunger, once an abstract concept, now bites at your focus. The town offered little, perhaps a few scraps or a coinless meal. But here, the land offers nothing except the raw, unforgiving challenge of survival. You scan the ground. Rabbits dart into the brush. A deer's distant silhouette glints in the sun before disappearing behind a ridge. Your modern mind wonders if you could simply catch something for food. You have no weapon, no traps, no knowledge of local hunting methods. You might survive in a simulation, but here, you are dangerously underprepared. The first lesson of the wilderness hits you. You are not in control. You try improvising. A stick becomes a spear. A rock feels heavy enough to throw. But the animals move faster than you anticipate, smarter than you expect. A rabbit bounds past, unaware of your presence. But you fumble and trip, falling face first into the dirt. Scrapes sting, and the hot wind dries the blood forming on your palms. The rabbit escapes. You failed at the simplest survival task. You press on, seeking water. The sun climbs high, merciless. Your throat burns. Sweat soaks your shirt. You realize that in the Wild West, dehydration kills faster than hunger. Every small creek you find is either dried up or full of murky water that might carry disease. Drinking from it is a risk, but the alternative, collapse, is certain death. Hours pass. You finally spot a small pond, its surface glinting under the harsh sunlight. You approach cautiously, listening for predators, snakes, coyotes, maybe even a lurking mountain lion. You cup your hands and scoop the water, drinking greedily. It's muddy and bitter, but life-giving. Survival, you realize, depends on grit more than skill. Hungry and thirsty, you attempt to hunt again. You fashion a snare from vines and your shoelaces, hoping to catch a rabbit. You dig a pit in the soft earth, cover it with branches, and wait. Hours pass. You learn patience, but the animal never comes. By evening, your makeshift traps are empty. You've eaten nothing, and your energy is draining fast. The sun sets, painting the sky in fiery oranges and deep purples. Shadows lengthen across the plains. You feel the first real fear of being alone. The night will bring predators more cunning than any town outlaw. Coyotes howl in the distance. Insects swarm. Your stomach aches, your body aches, and your mind races with panic. As darkness falls, you realize another truth. The wilderness does not forgive mistakes. A misplaced step, an uncalculated move, a bad decision about water or shelter, any of them could end your life. You find a rocky outcrop to take shelter for the night. You huddle, trying to shield yourself from the cold desert wind, wishing you had known even the basics of survival. You're learning fast, but learning does not equal survival. By the end of your first full day outside the town, you are exhausted, dehydrated, hungry, and terrified. The Wild West is no romantic adventure. It's a trial by fire. And you, modern and soft, are barely keeping pace with its ruthless demands. Tomorrow will be worse. You will have to navigate rugged terrain, wild animals, and unpredictable weather, all without the tools or instincts necessary to endure. And deep down, you know, a single misstep could be fatal. Riding through the wilderness, you emerge from the fringe of the town, the wooden buildings shrinking behind you like memories of a world that no longer exists. Before you stretches the open plains, dotted with scrub, jagged rocks, and twisted trees. The wind carries a dry, dusty tang that scratches your throat and stings your eyes. This is the real West, the land that the lawless and the brave fought to tame. A horse stands tied to a post, its coat dusty and sweat-slick. Its eyes flick toward you, cautious, wary. You realize instinctively that riding is no longer optional. On foot, you'd never survive. Yet your hands shake as you climb onto the horse. Its muscles tense under your weight. You've never ridden like this before. The animal bucks, and you nearly fall. Panic grips you. You barely manage to hold on. One lesson is immediate. Survival requires learning fast or dying faster. The landscape stretches endlessly. Rolling hills, canyons, and ridges blur into the horizon. You feel small, exposed, and entirely alone. The sun climbs higher, relentless. Sweat pours down your back. Water is running low. Hunger gnaws at your stomach. Each mile you cover brings exhaustion, yet you cannot stop, not when danger lurks in every shadow. Suddenly, a low growl makes you freeze. From the brush, a coyote emerges, its eyes glinting. It moves slowly, assessing. You've read that these animals rarely attack humans, but hunger and desperation change behavior. You wave your arms, shouting, trying to scare it off. The coyote pauses, then retreats, but your heart pounds like a drum. The wilderness is alive, and it has no sympathy for your naivety. Hours pass. You push the horse through rugged terrain. Jagged rocks scrape its hooves, dry creek beds threaten to twist its legs, and narrow passes make every movement perilous. You lose your balance more than once. A sharp rock cuts your hand when you try to steady yourself. Pain is constant. Fatigue gnaws at your resolve. By mid-afternoon, you stumble upon a small grove. You tie the horse and collapse beneath a gnarled tree, trying to catch your breath. You realize you've barely survived the simplest part of the journey, just moving forward. Hunger, thirst, exhaustion, and the constant threat of predators make every decision critical. A single misstep could be fatal. As the day turns toward evening, storm clouds gather on the horizon. A sudden gust of wind picks up dust and small debris, scratching your skin and stinging your eyes. You understand quickly. The weather is as dangerous as any bandit or beast. Lightning strikes a few miles away, and you scramble to find shelter for you and the horse. You're in a landscape that offers little protection. Canyons are dry, trees sparse, and rocks treacherous. Night falls, and with it, new dangers emerge. The sounds of the wilderness, the distant howl of wolves, the rustle of unseen animals, the creak of tree branches, create an atmosphere of constant tension. You try to start a small fire, but the dry brush catches unevenly, sending sparks into the night sky. The fire is small, barely enough to keep you warm or deter predators, but it is all you have. By midnight, you lie huddled next to the horse, exhausted beyond comprehension. Your muscles ache, your throat is dry, and your stomach is empty. You've traveled miles across terrain you barely understand, facing threats you are ill-equipped to handle. The harsh truth settles over you. The Wild West does not forgive mistakes. It does not care if you are brave, clever, or well-intentioned. Survival is a matter of skill, knowledge, and luck, three things you have very little of. You realize that tomorrow will be even harder. You must navigate further, find food and water, and somehow endure the physical and mental strain. Every step, every decision could be your last. And somewhere in the darkness, the wilderness watches, patient and unyielding, waiting for you to falter. Epilogue. Why you wouldn't survive a day the morning sun rises slowly, weak and pale after the long, merciless night. You open your eyes to the harsh, unyielding wilderness around you, every muscle screaming, every step a reminder of your fragility. You have survived, but barely. Hunger still gnaws at your stomach. Thirst scratches at your throat, and your mind trembles under the weight of fear, exhaustion, and relentless vigilance. Looking back, it is clear why the Wild West was not a place for the unprepared. Towns were rife with lawlessness, duels broke out over insults or debts, and outlaws lurked around every corner. Streets were dusty, chaotic, and deadly. Hunger, dehydration, and disease claimed more lives than gunfire. Every day was a gamble. Every misstep could be your last. Outside the towns, the wilderness itself was an unforgiving teacher. Predators prowled the night, snakes waited silently for a careless foot, and storms could sweep across the plains without warning, leaving you exposed to heat, cold, and injury. Water was scarce. Food was even scarcer. Every day demanded skill, patience, and knowledge, none of which a modern, soft human could realistically possess without prior preparation. You realized the truth. Survival was not a matter of courage alone. Bravery would not save you from dehydration, infection, or a mountain lion. Determination would not protect you from a jagged rock that twisted an ankle. Modern conveniences, clean water, fast food, medical care, and transportation did not exist. Without them, you are exposed, fragile, and painfully human. Every pioneer, every settler, every cowboy who survived had mastered something you cannot grasp in a single day. They knew the land, understood its dangers, respected its laws, and endured its hardships with skill honed over years. And even they often did not survive. Death came swiftly and without mercy to those who failed to learn. You take a deep breath, the dry wind cutting through your lungs. You have learned more in a single day than any history book could teach you. The Wild West is beautiful, yes, but it is brutal, ruthless, and indifferent to human weakness. As you rise, limping from fatigue, you accept the ultimate lesson. A day in the Wild West is not merely a challenge. It is a test you are almost certainly destined to fail. Survival here is earned through knowledge, skill, and endurance that modern comfort has not prepared you for. And without it, the land, and its lawless, untamed spirit, will claim you as it claimed countless others before you. The sun climbs higher. You push forward, one painful step at a time, knowing that the frontier will continue to test you. And in that moment, a profound truth settles in your mind. The Wild West was never meant for the faint, the soft, or the unprepared. And you, modern, fragile, and untrained, understand now why you would not survive a single day.